Oops. Okay, I'm going to read back a little bit here and hit it. Okay. Yeah. Daniel continued. Anyway, the lead cleric, uh, let's see here. I'll try it. Okay. Daniel continued. Anyway, the lead cleric was so suspicious of the sub that it caught the attention of Ahmed, the flash drive's then current owner, who now felt it was safe to approach the sub. He determined to not only befriend him, but to actually dare let him know how he truly, secretly felt about Islam, Allah, Israel, and, well, just about everything. This would have to be done with the greatest care. Exposure meant certain death. You see, no one questioned Islam. No one left Islam. I learned in reading the sub's journal that the Muslim in name only, well, Ahmed, with the flash drive, was thankful to the real God for bringing someone into his mosque, someone who wasn't terrified of asking questions about Islam. In fact, at the time of his interrogations, the sub had no inkling of just how dangerous Islam truly was. That such innocent questioning on his part was like a baby walking into a lion's den and calling the lion cubs kitty cats, or a blind man playing with a black mamba snake and not knowing there was such a thing as poisonous snakes. It was then that Ahmed the Muslim in name only, let the sub, the Muslim in name only, let the sub know how dangerous his questioning was. That in spite of the fact that U.S. presidents were trying to convince Americans that Islam was peaceful and was a peaceful and tolerant religion, in fact, Islam wasn't peaceful at all, far from the truth. It was at this point, it was at this point, Ahmed it was at this point Ahmed, this Muslim in name only, revealed his reason for approaching the sub. Ahmed had this special flash drive with which he wanted the sub to make a bunch of CDs, and in the process the sub would get to this low. Okay. Yeah. It was at this point Ahmed, this Muslim in name only, revealed his reason for approaching the sub. Ahmed had this special flash drive with which he wanted the sub to make a bunch of CDs, and in the process the sub would get to study the giant who was on it. A giant at Exposes Islam. A giant who was familiar with on the internet. That he was familiar with already that he was familiar with on the internet. A giant known as the one and only Christian Prince. You're kidding. Sally was shocked. Daniel smiled and said, It was the guy. He was the giant who was yanked off of YouTube for being a hater of Muslims. His videos are rocking the world of any Muslim who dared listen to them. In the process, the sub found videos of Christian Prince that the Muslims had removed from the internet, but luckily they hadn't been removed from the flash drive. Videos that really showed the frightening side of Islam, videos that exposed how it opens the world up to terror with verses like Quran 9, 29, 30, 38, 39, and 911 that tells Muslims to kill and be killed in the cause of Allah. It was Quran 9, 111 that inspired 9/11/01. If there were no Quran 9/11, if there were no Quran 9/111, the Twin Towers of the Trade Center would still be standing. Anyway, seeing these videos really rocked the sub's world and freaked him out. He then realized the grave danger he was now in for questioning his mosque's scholars on Islam. Still, he stuck it out, tried to remain calm. He decided the safest way to proceed was to go back to the mosque. This time, however, he would be asking trivial things like, what's the best way to roast goat? When he, what's the best way to roast goat? When he went back to the mosque, when he went back to the mosque to give Ahmed's flash drive back to him. Well, guess what happened? What? Asked Sally with interest. The Muslim in name only was nowhere to be found. And according to the sub's journal, he was never seen again. Gad, how creepy. Sally said, as if a chill had run down her spine. What do you think happened to him? I think he might have gone back to Pakistan, which seems to be code for he got Allahu Akbar from life. Yeah, which means he got Allahu Akbar from life. I'm sorry about this going so slow thing here. Okay. All right. But it's just, yeah. Okay. I mean, it seems that anyone who comes in contact with this flash drive and learns what it's all about meets a horrible fate or disappears. I, too, disappeared when I came up in possession of it. Well, disappeared to my friends and family. Why? Asked Sally. Well, I took the flash drive home with me, and in my spare time started watching the videos of the sub and the videos of those who were before him. In the process, I learned a lot about Islam. Before, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I began to realize that Islam was a threat, but I had no idea of how much of a threat until I started getting death threats of my own. Death threats? Shocked, Sally asked. How? Well, the videos of the sub and the ones from the internet were very educational. They were great at exposing Islam. After a month of studying all those videos, man, I was totally convinced that Islam was a huge threat to world peace. I started making videos of my own, putting them on YouTube to question and challenge Muslims. I hoped I'd get them thinking enough to the point where they would start doubting Islam. That way, when Sharia law was imposed in America, they might not be so gung-ho to saw off heads of those who didn't want to pay the jizya tax after the sacred months had passed. And I felt that if I could get enough Muslims to doubt Islam, that Islam would become weakened to the point where it could be destroyed. I hoped the knowledge of its inherent idiocy would spread like a viral joke on the internet. Maybe it would go into different languages to the point where it might then help buy the world enough time to not only take the fire out of Muslims when Sharia is imposed, but possibly take it further, actually winning the war on terror. That maybe Sharia would never be imposed on another soul ever again, but I screwed up. I found a spunky Christian lady on YouTube named Hannah Reinhardt, who was excellent exposing Islam, or so I thought. So ballsy was she, that she burned evil parts of the Quran on video and gave her name and address to show she wasn't fearful of Muslims. She presented herself as a warrior for the truth and was ready to be a martyr for exposing the evil of true Islam. Well, it turned out that she was working for the Muslims. She was being paid a lot of money to pretend she was anti-Islam, all the while being paid by a mosque in her area to give her real name and address as a way to coax others into exposing themselves in their struggle against Islam. I don't know it. I didn't know it at the time, but it was kind of it was a kind of Muslim chess game of sacrificing certain pieces to rout out and checkmate a king. In this case, the burning of certain scriptures of the Quran to set up a trap in order to identify those who dared to expose Islam on the internet. Kind of like Obama killing terrorist Muslims in Pakistan in a way to make it look like he wasn't associated with Al-Qaeda.